Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dominic Peterson, aka Doug Zone 503, talking all things Oregon football. If you're not following, if you're not subscribed already, go and smash those buttons below to join the Doug Zone family. We're always talking Oregon football. Also, at Doug Zone 503, Instagram and Twitter, go hit the follow button on the social media platforms right now to get the quickest updates directly from me about all things Oregon football. Again, at Doug Zone 503, real simple search on Instagram and Twitter. Appreciate you guys that are locked in there. And here we go, guys. It's your Thursday episode. Today is November 10th, Thursday, November 10th. It's Husky Hate Week, guys. Huck the Fuskies, Dubs down, baby. Call it whatever you want. It's Husky Hate Week. All right, let's go. We got number 25, Washington, 7-2, 4-2 in conference play at number 6 now. Sitting right outside that college football playoff, number 6, Oregon Ducks coming in at 8-1, 6-0 in conference play, the only undefeated conference team in the Pac-12. Game's going to be played at Autzen Stadium, 4 p.m. kickoff. Be there, be square. Oregon is a 13.5-point favorite, so almost a 2-score favorite. That's according to Bleacher Report at the time of this recording. ESPN currently gives Oregon a 77.5% chance to win. This is the first time that Washington will be playing in Autzen Stadium since 2018, where Oregon won that game 30-27 in overtime. Before I continue, guys, I gotta announce real quick. Tuesday's episode was canceled due to me being sick. As you could probably hear my voice, I don't know if you probably can or not, but yeah, came down with a little bit of a cold. I'm getting a lot better now. Feel a lot better than I did about 4 days ago. Still battling it a little bit, but yeah, we're still getting it going. We got the Thursday episode, could not miss. Husky Hate Week preview episode, no way. And we got my score prediction coming soon. Stay tuned to the video. All right, so yeah, first game since 2018 that the Huskies have played in Autzen Stadium. There was a game scheduled in 2020, but due to the whole COVID thing, the Huskies, I think they came down with COVID and they canceled the game. They did, but then what do? They go ahead and self-proclaim themselves as North Pac-12 champions, even though they forfeited the game, which didn't make much sense to me. Oregon went on to go to the Pac-12 championship game and win. Huskies didn't like that. Jimmy Lake was their coach in 2021, where Oregon won that game 26-16 out there in Seattle. That just proved who was the better team. Washington had a really bad year last year, losing to Montana at home. Jimmy Lake gets fired after that Duck game, and that's kind of what really started to propel the moves to where they are now. A pretty good team, 7-win team. They only lost twice, right? Really good team so far, okay? And they get DeBoer in there from Fresno State. They get a transfer quarterback in Michael Penix, and there they go. Their offense is off and humming, and they had talent up there. Okay, Chris Peterson, he left behind in those recruiting classes, they had talent. They still do. So these guys can move it now. All right. So the Ducks, the Huskies, this is a heated rivalry. Both fan bases hate each other. Okay. This brews from generation. It comes from both teams kind of having dominant runs. It's never really been a back and forth heavyweight series fight each year. It's always been this team's been dominant for this set amount of years, and then this team's been dominant for this amount of years. Just to put it simple, let me tell you, the Oregon Ducks. If you're kind of a new Duck fan, if you don't know much about the Ducks, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And part of the 90s there a little bit, they were just not that good in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Okay, the Ducks just were not a dominant team. While Washington, on the other hand, the Huskies during that period, especially in the 80s and 90s, man, they were probably the best team in college football at times. They were really dominant. They dominated the matchup with the Ducks. And what you kind of seen in the modern era now, the last 20 years or so, with the Ducks kind of dominating the Huskies, that's what you really seen with the Huskies with the Ducks. So Duck fans really, really hated the Huskies. I mean, my dad, he comes from being the 80s, the 90s, and he grew up hating the Huskies, hating the Beavers and stuff like that. It was a big rivalry, before the Ducks really became who they are today. And the Huskies now, they've been getting dominated the last 20 years. We'll get into the numbers here in a bit. But man, yeah, it's that just really stems a big rivalry there. When somebody's kicking your ass for the last 10 years, you really want to beat them back, and that's what's been happening. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing in college football. I love it. It's one of the most hidden rivalries in college football, matter of fact, because when you think rivalry, you think Auburn, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida, Georgia, some of those big down south type matchup, Texas, Oklahoma, but out here, man, the Oregon and Huskies, this is a big rivalry, man. We we do not like each other. The programs don't like each other. There's no love lost. Dan Lanning said it himself in press interviews. He recognizes this matchup as a hated rivalry, which I appreciate because I hate when coaches try to downplay it and say, oh, it's just another game. No, man, this is the Husky hate week, man. You got to get fans riled up. You got to get your players bought in. And Dan Lanning's just doing that, man. Love it. So like I said, man, this matchup with the Huskies and the Ducks, that it's been, this team's been dominant, then this team's been dominant, and the Huskies were pretty much dominating the Ducks 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then all of a sudden, October 22nd, 1994, little Kenny Wheaton returns that pick six, and Autzen just goes insane for him. Oregon won that game in 1994, 31-20 over the Huskies, which pretty much changed the trajectory of this matchup. But not only that, changed the trajectory of the Oregon program. I mean, ever since 1994, the Ducks have just dominated the series. I mean, that play right there, Kenny Wheaton, the pick six, gets played before every game, and the crowd goes nuts. It's part of the hype thing. The hype video and before the kickoff, and yeah, it's just a big thing. One moment. Like I said, guys, like the Jordan flu game. I'm having the flu pod right now. It's the flu pod, guys. But yeah, like I said, because of that game, it really turned the matchup around, turned the program around as a whole for Oregon. Ever since then, Oregon has dominated this matchup and just been the better football program. Simple to put it. Since 1994, Oregon is 20-6 against Washington and 11-3 at home in that run. So really just have been dominant since that moment. All time, this will tell you. So there were 20-6 in the last 26 years, right? Well, all time, the Huskies still have a 12-game lead, 60 wins, 48 losses, 5 ties here. So 60 wins for the Huskies, 48 wins for the Ducks, trailing this series by 12. That could just tell you how dominant and how dominant the Huskies were for 40, 50 years before this little 26-year run. Now, if Oregon keeps sustaining this, which they're on the trajectory to, Dan Lanning as a coach saying he wants to stay here. We've seen a lot of rumors. Okay, Dan Lanning wants to stay here at Oregon. And as long as he builds here, bringing recruiting classes, we see what he can do at Georgia. The sky's the limit. And I do see Oregon taking this series. And Husky fans, they always want to chirp at that all-time series. That's okay for now. But just know, we're chipping out that thing like a gold mine. And when you don't have that series anymore, those talking points are going to start diminishing away. All right, man. So this is a big, big game, obviously. Washington this year, coming into Autzen Stadium. Oregon always finds themselves outside of the college football playoff late in the year. Ever since that 2018, 2019 years, they've really came into the playoff picture, even in the Chip Kelly era, the national championship picture. But for some reason, they always find a way to lose. And let me remind you, no other Pac-12 team ever in the history of the Pac-12 since they've switched to the nine-game conference schedule has not gone 9-0 in conference play. On top of that, you add on all the opponents that Oregon has to face. These are quality opponents, okay, in Washington, Utah, Oregon State, okay? And if you win all three of those, you're locked in for the Pac-12 championship game. You're going to have to play a really good USC, a UCLA team that's going to be hungry to rematch against you. So we'll see. We'll see how this thing plays out. But Oregon has the toughest remaining schedule in college football. if we're talking about trying to get into the college football playoff chase here. So that's going to be big. College football playoff talk's a whole thing. I like to just take it game by game. So let this game by itself for Dan Lanning, right? First time head coach. He's done a great job, beating everybody besides his former team. Imagine his first loss to the Huskies, our rival. Oh man, that just puts a sour taste in my mouth, and that can't happen. You just don't fathom as an Oregon fan that will happen. Watch out. Okay, this Husky offense can move it. They are the number one passing offense in college football. They got Michael Penix. This guy can move it, man. So this is a big game. I think Oregon will should win. We'll see. I'll get to my score prediction here in a second. Almost said some things there, but yeah, we'll get into it. So let's get into it. Washington's last game. So the Huskies, they played number 23 Oregon State at home. Our little brothers, the Beavers, did not last. Washington beat them 24-21 in a game-winning field goal. So big win. Oregon State's a good team this year. No slouch there. So nice win for the Huskies there. Oregon's last game, they went to Colorado and handled business 49-10. Just the Colorado's just not a good team. No disrespect to the Buffaloes. I know they're trying out there. They're going to go ahead and build out there. It's not over for them, but good to see Oregon really just handle business and put the gas on the pedal. All right. So let's preview Washington here. The Huskies, they're 7-2 on the season, 4-2 in conference play. So they did drop 2 conference games. Let's go over their schedule. I'm going to do this real quick. Win 45-20 over Kent State. Win 52-6 over Portland State. Win 39-28 over number 11 Michigan State. And Michigan State is not a top 15 team in the country. They were at the time, which looked like a pretty big win. But as that went on, it's kind of less impressive for me anyways. Win, they're 4-0 at this point, 40-22 against Stanford. 4-0 riding high. They go on the road for the first time this season at UCLA. Really good team. They lose 40-32. So close game, but they lost to UCLA there. This is the one that scratches everybody's head. At Arizona State, they go on the road again at Arizona State. They lost 45-38. They allowed 45 points to a really bad Arizona State team. They're really not that great. And that was a big head scratcher for me. And I was happy, obviously. I hate the Huskies. Arizona, next game, they went and handled the Wildcats 49-39 at home. They go on the road to Cal, get their first road game, road win of the season, 28-21. And then a win against Oregon State, 24-21, as I mentioned previously. So 7-2 on the season, 4-2 in conference play. Excuse me, guys. Their offense is led by Michael Penix Jr., transfer from Indiana, came to the Huskies this year. In 2022, he currently has 3,232 passing yards. And yes, first in college football right there. Okay, you might think Bryce Young, you might think CJ Stroud, right? Nope, Michael Penix Jr. Sure, you might even think Bo Nix might have had more passing yards than him. Nope, it's Michael Penix Jr. who has the most passing yards of college football. 23 touchdowns thrown, 5 interceptions, 66.5% completion percentage. So really accurate quarterback, really good. Kind of reminds me of that other Washington quarterback, Washington State Cougars quarterback, Cam Ward. The guy can really zip those, passes in there. Like a fastball throw, man, can get it to his receivers quick on a dime. And it's pretty accurate too. Can kind of use his legs as well. Can use his legs. They don't really try to use his legs too much. I think he's a left-handed thrower too, which is kind of unique. Offensively, that's because offensively, Washington likes to pass the ball a lot. Okay, it used to be the Cougars that were the air raid and like to throw the ball, but now it looks like, the Huskies, they're really slinging it. Okay, they pass the ball 60% of the time, which is number 4 in all of college football when you're passing the ball that amount of time. Not really trying to run the ball here. Rush play percentage of 39%, number 128 in college football. So not that great. And they also have really good weapons to throw to. Okay, their leading wide receiver is Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze has 57 receptions, 858 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's had 100 plus receiving yards in the last 4 out of the 5 games. So really, really big target there for Penix. And then they got Jalen McMillan as well, another good young wide receiver for Penix. Jalen McMillan has 49 receptions, 670 yards, and 6 touchdowns as well. So I expect this to definitely be an offensive battle. Washington averages about 37 points per game. That's number 13 in college football, while Oregon's averaging about 40 a game. That's number 9 in all of college football. Both teams are top 15 in scoring. Okay. So big time matchup on our hands. Washington averages 480 yards per game, number 16 in college football, while Oregon is averaging 510 yards per game. I don't think that'll be sustainable against quality opponents. Oregon has been really dominant against the last 2 opponents, but that's number 3 in college football, guys. 510 yards a game. That just tells you, man, Kenny Dillingham is doing something here at Oregon. I really hope Kenny Dillingham, excuse me. I really hope Kenny Dillingham stays here at Oregon because, man, for at least like another 2-3 years, because I know he's going to be a damn good head coach somewhere, wherever he goes. But, man, we need Dante Moore and him to be here for another good 2-3 years before he takes off. Both teams are top 20 in offensive yards per game, top 15 in scoring. Both teams are pretty good offensively on third down. Oregon converts third downs at 43%, while Washington's converting at 53%. That's top 5 in college football, by the way. So Washington's really good at converting on third down, while both teams are dreadful at getting teams off the field on third down when we're talking defense. Oregon allows teams to convert third downs at 49%, number 125 in all of college football. Washington's a percent, whereas 50% they allow. Number 128th in college football. So both teams really bad on third down defensively, really good offensively. So huge key right there. Speaking of keys, let's get into it. I always announce my 3 keys to the game, what I think needs to happen for an Oregon win. So number 1, I have obviously get off the field on third down. We just talked about it, right? Both teams are really, really good offensively on third down, as well as both teams being really dreadful on third down on defense. So I think whatever team has the better third down defense in this game will have a big advantage. I could almost guarantee. I don't want to guarantee anything, but whatever team has the better third down conversion rate will have the win in this game. All right, number 2 for Oregon, I have rush over 200 plus yards. Okay, the Oregon offensive line is one of the best in the country, if not the best. Okay, Bo Nix has been sacked once. Offensively, this team is pretty much top 15, top 20 in every stat category, running and passing. I do believe that Oregon could run the ball on the statistically average Washington defense. Oregon has a plethora of backs. Oregon has a big-time offensive line with a lot of offensive linemen, a lot of depth that they can just keep throwing in there. And these guys are very highly efficient in Dillingham's offense, and I've yet to see a team stop Oregon's run game. So I think Oregon will rush over 200-plus yards, and that will be a big thing in this win is the rushing attack, which will make Bo Nix comfortable from point number 3 here. I think Bo Nix will be comfortable with that rushing attack where he's going to be able to throw 3+ touchdowns, okay? Penix versus Nix, okay? This is going to be a big game. This is going to be something to watch. Bring your popcorn, people, okay? This is a big-time quarterback matchup. It's going to be fun to watch. I think Nix is playing well at a very high level. He leads the whole nation in total touchdowns with 36 touchdowns passing and running. Bo Nix, I think he continues a high level by playing in a high level by scoring 3+ touchdowns through the air. Okay, let's get into it. Before I do, take a drink of water. Again, guys, really appreciate you guys for bearing with me. Hit that thumbs up if you want me to get well soon. Appreciate you guys. All right. Prediction time. What do I think is going to happen in this game? We got number 25, Washington Huskies rolling in to the number 6, Oregon Ducks, Autzen Stadium, 4 p.m. kickoff. I think this game has the making of just an offensive explosion. Okay, both offenses are ran by, you know, star transfer quarterbacks here in Penix and Nix. Both quarterbacks are having career years. We got Bo Nix with 36 total touchdowns on the season. That's number one in all of college football. While you got Penix with 3,232 passing yards. That's first in all of college football there in that stat. So, man, you might these guys are just absolutely tearing it up, while both defenses, the Ducks defense and the Husky defense, they statistically give up yards, okay? Oregon allows 408 yards per game, while Washington allows 383 yards per game, okay? The Oregon linebackers and DBs, okay, have been a position that have been vulnerable on the defense, okay? And through 8 games, you pretty much know where your weaknesses and where your strengths are. And I think teams know that the DBs and linebackers have definitely been a spot of weakness, you know, for this Duck defense. And I think through recruiting and through time, Dan Lanning would definitely shore that up. But you got to work with what you got this season. And not to say they've been completely awful, but there's just been times where they've been vulnerable 100%. So I do see a high-scoring game. I do see the over-under. Last time I checked, I think it was like, what, 73? I would take the over for sure, because both these guys could score. You know, but here's the thing for me on this game when I really look at both teams. Washington played on the road 3 times this season. They've only won 1 game. Okay, they're 1-2 on the road. You know, in those losses, teams have scored 45 points, 40 points. You know, and it's just has not been good. Okay, has not been good defensively in those losses. That tells me that the Huskies are just not a good road team. Okay, that just it just gives me a feeling that when they come into Autzen Stadium in this rivalry matchup, Oregon's going to be locked in and ready. Dan Lanning, you know, he looks at it as that type of matchup where he needs his guys ready. And there's no extra motivation for this matchup with these guys. These guys come ready for this one. Autzen's going to be rocking for this one. It's a top 25 matchup. Oregon has won 23 straight home games. Oregon has won the last 3 matchups against the Huskies. Oregon has dominated this series, 20 wins, only 6 losses since 1994. Make that 21 wins since 1994 after Saturday's game. Give me the Ducks at home for a final score prediction of Oregon 45, Washington 38. Okay. 7-point win for Oregon. So I do have the Huskies covering the point spread, while I do have Oregon on the money line. I have Oregon controlling this game throughout. Okay. I pretty much think that I think Oregon will start fast. Okay. I think Oregon will start fast. I think they'll be, I think they'll get going. I think they'll keep about a 10, 14-point lead the whole game. And then I have like the Huskies scoring like a late touchdown, maybe, to make it look a little closer than it really was. It'll be like 45-31 with like 2 minutes left. Huskies will get the ball and they'll get a late score, just for lack of lack of focus or something. You know, 45-38 is my final score, though. I got Oregon 45, Huskies 38 at home. All right, guys. It's Huck the Fuskies. Dubs down. Hate week. I'll be at that game. Let's go. Go Ducks, baby. You know, I always do the vlogs, guys. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and check out the channel, guys. Really, really dope. I got recruit interviews. I got the vlogs. Vlogs is one of the favorite things for everybody, because, you know, I take you on that experience through the tailgate, to the ride to the game, to going into the stadium, you know, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, if there's an overtime. You know, I don't record like every single play, but I try to get the most important plays on film into the video. So it's not too long of a video. It's still enjoyable. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, be on the lookout for the vlog. If you guys really like content like this, please like and sub. Really hard to get through this, I know. Thanks for bearing with me. I'm fighting through this cold. I'm feeling better, though. I'll keep taking medicine. And yeah, I'll be at that game. Shout out to social media, guys, at DuckZone503. Real simple search on Instagram and Twitter. Lock in with me there if you haven't already. Really appreciate you guys. Always Huck the Fuskies. Always Dubs down. You guys know what it is, baby. Go Ducks.